All right, folks. This is a big episode. We got a lot of stuff going on this week. It's been a while since there's been this much going on in wrestling, this much newsworthy stuff going on in wrestling, this much unexpected stuff going on in wrestling. We're going to get into all of it tonight here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. So get ready, folks. We got to talk about John Cena because John Cena has shocked the world. We got to talk about Elimination Chamber. We got to talk about WrestleMania. We got to talk about WWE Evolve and even AEW Revolution. But John Cena shocked the world, folks. So get ready. Buckle in. There's a lot to talk about tonight. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need that Big Gold Belt.
How's it going, everyone? I am so glad you are here with us tonight on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. Season 5, Episode 5 here tonight. You got me, Will, on the left side of your screen, and the Giant Crab Jamal on the right side of the screen. Most of the crew is busy tonight, and it's too bad for them because it has been a long time since we've had a week like this with this kind of news, this kind of just changes in wrestling. It has been a while, but we're doing one of our two-man shows tonight because we got a lot to talk about. So I'm glad you're here. Get ready, folks. This is going to be an interesting show tonight. Jamal, how are you doing this week?
Good. It has been an interesting show, but it's also some other sports, stuff going on. So, I can't wait. I'm actually pretty excited about tonight.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. Last week, we broke down the Elimination Chamber card. We talked a lot about Elimination Chamber. We talked a lot about The Rock wanting Cody's soul and what exactly that was all about and how it was kind of weird. And we talked a lot at the end about how maybe this was going to lead to WrestleMania and maybe how it would lead to a shift in Cody Rhodes because he's been the babyface for years now and he's been champ for coming up on a full year. And we were going all in on like Cody's going to change it up. He'll probably go with The Rock or something. And it'll be a fresh change of pace for Cody. He'll become corporate or he'll become Rock's boy or something like that. And then we get to Elimination Chamber Saturday night. Almost said Sunday like it used to be. Saturday night, Elimination Chamber. And we were all off base. We did not see what was coming. I don't think anyone saw what was coming. I never heard this idea thrown around. But John Cena went and shocked the world. He wins Elimination Chamber, which wasn't the most shocking thing. But afterwards, when The Rock confronts Cody for his soul, and Cody turns him down flat, John Cena gives him a hug and gives the most stone face, evil scowl I've seen in ages. And it's a full flip of the script for John Cena as John Cena joins up with The Rock and lays down a beating on Cody. And kids are crying, and John Cena ruined Christmas. He ruined the holidays. And we got heel John Cena for his farewell run here. And no one saw that coming. So before we get into anything else, Crab.
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming.
No.
None of us talked about this coming last week. What was your initial thoughts when you heard what they did?
Good. Like, and not necessarily good in that he turned on Cody or good that he joined with The Rock. We did surmise last week that something along those lines, like what would it look like if Cody joined The Rock, turned into the Mega Powers, the corporate tribal chief or whatever you want to call it. And, so we had the idea down, but now it's John Cena and not Cody. So, you know what? I'm going to pat ourselves in the back a little bit, just once, because I think we were on the right path. As far as it being John Cena over Cody or anybody, good, because this is his last year, regardless of what happens. This is, a memorable run. It does kind of, create an interesting buzz around WrestleMania. The implications of John Cena winning the title for a 17th time, beating Cody, going on some kind of what 7-month run between April and the end of the year, or whatever that decides to be. You know, there's so many different ways that you can go with it. And also, more importantly, the fact that people were genuinely surprised, I think, is the biggest deal. It wasn't a, cryptic tweet that just from a month ago that got, revealed. None of the dirt sheets had it or anything like that. And I think that's good. And that doesn't happen too often in wrestling for a number of different reasons. So I'm A-okay with the surprise of Cena, turning heel. But just because he turned on Cody doesn't make him a heel. I mean,
when you're
go ahead.
lashing him with a belt, I would say the full behavior between the,
and some would argue that Cody's run has been, kind of average, middling to average.
There are definitely people out there saying that they're tired.
People out there saying that this may be some comeuppance. Like, hey, you didn't do your job, so now we got to take it over. And this is exactly what that looks like. So I really hope they lean into it. And it's the same thing we said last week. Even just take Cody's name out and put in John Cena's. I hope we get, Hollywood Cena. I hope this leads to him. Well, shit, Cena's already in the DC universe. So, in some capacity, but I hope it leads to, your corporate Cena. He's out there in a 3-piece suit every day, shaking hands and kissing babies and the whole deal. Because it's interesting because people were talking about how mid Cody is as a champion. The bloodline thing has run its course. Like, okay, it's good. He has his own belt. And now it's all of a sudden people care. Well, which is it? Is he mid and it's kind of meh? Or are you like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened? So, and of course, how much of that is on Cody and how much of that is on Cena? You can split the difference there. I like it. Good for them. It creates something that people are talking about, obviously. I think WrestleMania is mid-April this year.
Yeah, 7 weeks away still.
Yes.
Yeah, April 20th.
Crazy like that. So
yeah,
they have a lot of time to play with this, the next month and a half. But of course, there are going to be some people that go, this is not the match I wanted to see. You just replaced one 50-plus-year-old guy with another 50-plus-year-old guy. Come on, WWE, do better. But to be fair, what if Cena wins? What if Cena wins and carries the belt long into the summer, dare I say into the winter? Now you got to pick your poison. If you're a Cody hater out there, would you rather see Cena as champ? If you're just completely, in the middle and you don't really care about either side, then is this something that deters you from paying for WrestleMania? Or watching it rather, because, Peacock or whatever it is, whatever, Netflix or whatever you subscribe to. But does this take the wind out of your sails for WrestleMania? It's an interesting thing because obviously you're not going to please everybody, but it is still to the point of they finally did the damn thing after 20-something years. It did shock everybody, and WWE social media is certainly leaning into that.
Oh, yeah.
And, good on them. They still got it.
Yeah, I think you just brought up a good point there with the idea of the folks that are tired of Cody or think Cody's kind of played out. Well, now you may have to pick your poison because if you put it on Cena, that's going to be the dreaded, we got a part-time champion. We got a guy who's not around with the belt on him. And Lord knows, I saw folks already throwing a fit this past Monday that Cena wasn't on Raw the night after it happened. And it's like, yeah, he's got other stuff to do. He's going to be away for a few weeks. And
why would he be? He's got the Rock schedule.
He's got limited dates. He's got so many dates through the end of the year through this, farewell tour. And that's that. And that did remind me of an interesting parallel because I saw a lot of people talking about, a lot of older folks our age and stuff, people who've been watching for a long time, that were comparing the Cena turn to when Hogan turned in WCW and joined the NWO.
No.
As far as like a longtime babyface who hadn't turned heel. And I was thinking back and I was like, it ain't quite that. It ain't quite that. We didn't get trash getting thrown in the ring. We didn't have a dude rush the ring and get knocked out by Kevin Nash. You know,
No.
it was like, it wasn't quite that level, but maybe for the kids of today, maybe it was. I don't know. Watching it, I mean, I was definitely shocked, but it wasn't the level of unthinkable.
I also think you got to be there, though,
Mhm.
because Hogan, it wasn't that he couldn't turn heel or that he wouldn't turn heel, because Hogan's been a heel before.
Right.
Like,
just like Cena has too.
Yeah, well, ish, but yeah.
Thugonomics era, you know.
Right. So, well, I mean, to be fair, and people want to give him shit for it, John Cena was just, Max Caster beta. That's all it was. That's fine. But as far as the whole heel turn goes, the thing, comparing it to Hogan, no, I don't think that's a stretch, man. But also, to be fair, you had to have seen it live. You had to have been there to understand the legacy that Hogan, had. Like, I don't think Hogan's. Well, I guess that's the question. Who's the bigger babyface across their career, Hogan or Cena? And I think it's Hogan by a mile.
After comparing that 80s,
I mean,
say your prayers, eat your vitamin, Saturday morning cartoon, Hogan.
Cena,
it's a very different run. The world's very different in those two different eras when you're comparing the 80s to the 2000s.
Very different, but respectively, like, wrestling isn't, though. It's still heel face. It's still, the guy that appeals to the kids and the soccer moms and stuff like that. It's still the white meat baby face. That formula hasn't changed since the Civil War.
Very
and
true.
then you have your general heel, whether that heel is whatever the flavor of the culture is. The person that you don't like politically, the person that you don't like militarily, the person that you don't like because he reminds you of an archetype from your boss or a daily life. That hasn't changed since the beginning of the wrestling. But there was something different between Hogan and Sheik, or Hogan and Volkov, or Hogan, teaming up with Sergeant Slaughter, or like when Hogan and Savage came together. That, Cena hasn't touched that thing. And where it would be different, of course, is how people consume media, because you only had 5 channels back then.
Right.
Wrestling only came on once a week. You can't rewind it. You have to you have to go and watch it. But even still, even adjusted for inflation, I don't think Cena comes close.
Well, we had the pantomime shock reaction videos. We did have little kids crying on some of them. I'll take the little kids crying, because at least that's genuine. The adults that are acting all ridiculous on those videos where they were conveniently filming, those are the ones I was just like, okay, come on now. Y'all just trying to get your damn clicks with your John Cena shocked faces and everything. But I'm definitely intrigued. Cena as a heel against Cody is a real interesting match. And especially, like we said, they got 7 weeks to build this now. So Cody's apparently going to be on SmackDown tomorrow night, and I'll be the first, next steps in this to get a reaction of how this is going. And I think it's going to be a bit before we see Cena himself to get the next steps of Cena or The Rock showing up, or, how this is going to progress. But if nothing else, it's a fresh idea. It's something we haven't seen before. And I think WrestleMania needed that. It needed a spark of something different. And this is definitely different. This is like last year when The Rock showed up at that press conference and he smacked Cody. And also I was like, oh, Rock's in the mix. we got stuff going on here. So it's reminded me of that, where it's like all of a sudden, like, okay, we got an X factor now. We got something we didn't see coming. So now it's a matter of how they develop it between now and mid-April. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting, and that's, of course, what their point is. But I really want to hear from the people that were ambivalent about Cody or The Rock or Cena. How do you feel about this now? The Cena's heel turn notwithstanding, is this the thing that makes you want to watch or turn you away from WrestleMania? I think that's cool. Now, and of course, and we will absolutely cover this much closer to the event, but the question has to be, should Cena win? Because the implications of Cena winning are far greater than Cody retaining. Cody retains, he retains. Cena just is a lame duck for the next 6 months after that. But if Cena wins, then what?
Well, yeah, and that was what we were talking about last week. The idea that Cody would turn at WrestleMania, and that would set up, your rest of your spring, your summer. It'd be like the beginning of the whole story going forward. So,
or Cena wins the belt and retires with the belt.
Oh, retires with number 17.
Retires with the belt. It's done. It's his. That's his parting gift in December. The New Year's show or whatever his last day is. Okay. They retire with the belt. They really don't need it because it's only there. It was only there for the bloodline. It was the bloodline belt. And then Cody has it. Now it's the corporate bloodline belt. And then Cena wins it. He can ride off with the belt into the sunset. It's completely ancillary. And then you can go back to business as usual with the rest of the roster. Because without Roman and the bloodline doing that thing, the belt itself doesn't really mean as much anymore, which is arguably probably causation for Cody's kind of lame duck run. He's in a bubble by himself with a belt that's not really made for him. So nobody's allowed in their little sandbox to play with each other. So it wasn't Jey Uso. It's not Gunther. It's not Rollins. It's not too many other people. So it's not Roman this year. So who else is relevant for the belt? So give it to Cena, let him retire it. And then we can continue on with the actual, world championship.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we will see how invested do people get in heel John Cena over the next month. I think that's going to be the big question that'll kind of decide the direction of things.
Now here's the question, though.
We had the big shock now. We had the shock. Now we got to we got to see this in practice. We got to see this as like a thing now.
Right. Because, the question is, will we see actual heel John Cena, destroying the kids, glass, kind of like how Bayley turned when she turned heel in NXT. Are we going to see something like that where he still acknowledges this is who I was, but I hate y'all? Sick kids, Make-A-Wish Foundation. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're just going to see ambitious John Cena. Damn it, I said I was going to win the belt. I entered the Royal Rumble. I entered the Elimination Chamber. And if I got to go with The Rock to get what I'm looking for, what I deserve, what I'm owed, because of the fact that, I've been that guy for 20 years, then goddamn it, I'm going to have to go through Cody Rhodes too.
I'll do whatever
heel to me.
Right, I'll do whatever it takes to get number 17, even if it means shaking the hand of the devil himself on the board of TKO.
Right, because that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, well, the legacy this and the fans that really has nothing to do with it. If Ric Flair wants to challenge, then damn it, he needs to come. He can win number 18 from me, but that doesn't scream heel to me. That screams ambitious. And
all right,
fair
point. Fair point.
So I think if we actually saw heel John Cena burn like a Nikki Bella shirt in the ring, or if we see heel John Cena grow a Vince McMahon like mustache and say he did nothing wrong, then maybe that's too far of a stretch. But I'm just saying, I can't imagine seeing actual heel versus person you're supposed to boo between the two. And the reason, and that's troubling for me because of the fact that Cody's, if the consensus is that Cody's actually just a mid guy for whatever reason, who's the actual heel here?
Right. Well, that's the thing. Watching it, the way the fans reacted, folks were cheering it. People were like, oh my God. It was not like booing and shock. It was not trash getting thrown in the ring at Hogan at Bash at the Beach. It was very much, oh my God, look what's happening. And definitely cheers and once the surprise wore off. So people were into it. People were into it because they saw something different. They saw something new. So whether people are actually going to boo John Cena as a heel is a very different story. So, or if they'll rise more so, will they rally around Cody? That's the thing. That's
yeah,
the key.
that's really going to have to be it because I'm sure obviously Cody has his fans, and The Rock definitely knows how to crowd control, but realistically, now the conversation has devolved into, are you pro Cena or anti Cody?
Right.
And that's somebody's going to have to lose on that. Interesting.
Yeah, those are two things that there's one side or the other.
Yeah.
So we will see. All right, so let's look at the rest of Elimination Chamber here, and since we're touching on WrestleMania, just kind of where the picture is at now. So, like we said, John Cena won the men's Elimination Chamber. Came down to him and CM Punk. So Punk did not get his ticket to WrestleMania, but I'm sure there's still stuff in play there. They very much have him and Seth Rollins connected at the hip, as Seth cost him the match. So John Cena, your men's Royal Rumble winner. Yeah, Elimination Chamber. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn in the unsanctioned match. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus won the women's tag match over Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. And then the women's chamber that opened the show was also very newsworthy. Actually, for me, this was the match of the show. I really liked the women's chamber on the show personally. Bianca Belair won that. So Bianca won the other title shot over Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Liv Morgan, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. We had the surprise at the beginning with the return of Jade Cargill as soon as the match started, and she crashed the cage, and everyone's thinking, oh, she's going to go after Liv because we had the rumors of Liv laying her out, but no, she goes after Naomi, beats the crap out of Naomi while Bianca's still in her pod, so no one else can help, and takes Naomi completely out of the match. So Jade Cargill's back, has beef with Naomi. Bianca goes on to win the chamber. And then we had another curveball thrown at us on Raw on Monday, where Io Sky had her title shot against Rhea Ripley. And lo and behold, Io Sky goes and wins the Raw Women's Championship. So now we've had the title flip on that side. And Io Sky's the champion. Rhea now just lost the belt. But Bianca won Elimination Chamber. So I'm thinking that's going to turn into a three-way, but we got like a lot of weeks here to fill. So I don't know. Well, they're just going to run back Rhea getting a rematch or between now and then, or I don't know. But I mean, to me, that screams like a three-way, but there's also the Naomi and Jade Cargill Bianca thing going on. So there's plates spinning in different places for the women's matches for Mania. But Bianca is like definitely the safe pick there of who to go with for the winner of that match. So I'm not surprised Bianca won. And Lord knows if they want to do a three-way with her, Io, and Rhea, I'm sure it'll be tremendous. I don't have any doubt about that. It's just a matter of how all those pieces fit together, I think is.
Yeah, and also we haven't mentioned, and I think it's fair to mention that this could set up a night one leading into night two situation.
True.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to go with that. But yeah, I liked that match. And I think the show overall, even though it was just 4 matches, was surprisingly robust. The 2 chamber matches, you had the tag match, which was a solid little filler match. Owens versus Zayn, unsurprisingly, was my favorite match of the show. Just because it was exactly what I thought it was going to be for the 15th time over the last 20 years.
You know what you're going to get with those two.
Right. And I have no problem, getting served that and eating it every single time. And then, of course, the men's chamber, it is what it is too. So I think, not short on content or quality, just, short on time. And I don't mind that. I don't mind getting a jammed packed show instead of something spread over 6 hours, 4 hours. It doesn't have to be 4 hours. But as far as the women's match, the women's chamber match, that you're referring to, Bianca winning, no problem. Obviously, Jade's an X factor. She's going to face the new champion, possibly if she can make it to WrestleMania, because, it creates a lot of intrigue. And you know what? I got to give them credit. There are too many variables to decide how it's just going to go. A lot of people, pessimists out there were thinking, This WrestleMania, I'm not sure. It's kind of lame. We're seeing the same people. And then, of course, what a difference a pay-per-view makes. You go into the chamber, then on the other side of that, you don't know which way is up. You don't know which way the chips are going to fall. And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, Tiffany and Trish beating Nia Jax and Candice LeRae is kind of the only thing that was just like,
It's just fair.
It really should have been a pre-show match, but obviously they were in Canada and you have Trish there in a Leafs jersey, so that makes sense. But realistically, there's only one way that was going to turn out. So I think that for an 11-minute match compared to the other ones that were about a half an hour apiece, it was in the right spot. It was a good filler, and then you got Owens versus Zayn after that. So a good show overall. And then, of course, the implications leading into WrestleMania, we don't know. So that's what it's supposed to. That's what I want to see.
And Lord knows the next night, that EO title change, a lot of people were, Rhea's going to rip through her. There's no way they're going to take the title off of Rhea Ripley this close to WrestleMania. Why would they do that? And then lo and behold, they did it. So they're throwing some curveballs at us. I like that. I'd rather have it be like, a couple little bumps in the road that shake things up, especially, like I keep saying, I keep going back to this. There's a lot of weeks of TV to fill. So if they locked everything in right now, what are they going to do for the next 7 weeks? They had to do it this way where there's, there's unknowns. There's things we don't know about. Hell, we still haven't seen Roman Reigns since the Royal Rumble. Right. So damn well he's got to be showing up at some point. So there's definitely more surprises and twists coming over the next couple weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that just because you haven't fantasy booked this into oblivion just yet doesn't mean that it's a bad show. I actually do believe that the fact that a lot of balls are up in the air is kind of like a good thing. It kind of forces you to watch. I'm very okay with that. So yeah, I mean, keep it up, Triple H. It's goddamn. They're doing it again.
There you go. We are on the road to WrestleMania, as they like to say. We'll be keeping up with that over the next few weeks. So let's do this. Let's go to our halftime break. When we come back, we'll talk about the new show that dropped last night, WWE Evolve. You got to take a little bit of a victory lap on this one because of the WWE ID Spotlight we had been doing. Folks, if you had been paying attention during that came in very handy last night because there were a lot of faces in the main event that we had talked about here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. So we'll talk about that. And AEW Revolution is going down this weekend too. So we'll get to that in the second half. And who knows what else, folks. Stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait, reach out today, and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, BigGoldBelt.com.
Thanks for being with us here tonight, folks, on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. So as I mentioned before the break, last night, Wednesday on Tubi, of all places, we had the debut of something we've been keeping an eye on, the WWE Evolve show that is streaming for free on Tubi, which seems like I don't think they've nailed that point enough. Because there's definitely seems to be confusion out there with people being like, I don't want to pay for another streaming service. And it's like, Tubi's free. And if you're not in America, it's on YouTube. So either way, they are not charging for this show. You do not have to subscribe. You just got to get the app. So something to keep in mind that there's not a paywall involved with this, which is, I think, is a very big plus and something in its favor. So let me set this up how I saw it last night. So I used Tubi for the Super Bowl. I went during the Super Bowl, you went on there and it was like front and center. soon as you logged in when they had the Super Bowl streaming on there, a month back. So
Yeah.
you couldn't miss it when you clicked in there. Going there last night, there's no sign of WWE Evolve. I went on there maybe about 5 minutes before 8 o'clock because they said, okay, 8 o'clock, it's going to premiere. And there's no sign of it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess let me do a search. So I searched WWE. And surprisingly, I discovered they have a lot of WWE stuff apparently on there in their on-demand section. A lot of the old DVDs and stuff. Like, I guess from them. Like the Jake Roberts one was on there and maybe Ricky Steamboat. Like, there was a number of things that came up where I was like, oh, they got a little bit of a library on here. Who knew? So I added bonus on there, but I still didn't find Evolve. So I was like, oh, let me try Evolve. I'll search Evolve. And that brought it up. And it was still a couple minutes before 8 o'clock. I found it and it was already posted. So what they're doing is they're not streaming it live. I guess they're just dropping the new episode Wednesdays around 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on there. It was available on demand. I just had to hit play. First thing right off the bat that caught my eye where I was like, okay, I like the looks of this. I find the file. I bring it up. First thing it says is 47 minutes. I'm like, oh, under an hour. Very nice. Very nice. So I turn it on. It starts playing. We're greeted by Shawn Michaels meeting the kids, and they immediately start talking about the WWE ID program. A friend of yours that you are always thrilled to hear about, old Kylie Ray, was very front and center.
Oh, that's great.
In meeting old Shawn Michaels there.
Happy
the
for
kids at the Performance Center. So they made sure she was very, very visible. But yeah, they had like kind of everyone gathered together and just kind of gave a little speech about what Evolve's going to be, and this is your chance, to show out and make a name for yourself, and hopefully get your be on your way to NXT and all that kind of stuff. And then we got to our first match. We got to our first matchup. So there was 3 matches on the show. They opened with a tag match with some of the ladies. What they did was 2 of the girls that have been more so on NXT level up and had a couple appearances here and there on NXT, but they definitely weren't regulars. Kendall Gray and Carly Bright took on Callie Armstrong and Danny Palmer, who were definitely ID women they have brought in through the ID program. So they had a tag match to open. They got a significant amount of time. What I liked was they were very heavy on making sure the idea was, we know you don't know who these people are.
Who was commentary?
Okay, commentary is Pete Rosenberg.
Oh.
And what's his name? The guy who was Robert Stone, who was the manager in NXT. I'm not crazy about the announce team. What was his name in TNA before that? Let me hold on. I'll find it. Robert Stone used to be oh god, what was his name? But yeah, Rosenberg of all people.
Yeah.
Oh, he was Robbie E in TNA. He was doing the whole Jersey Shore gimmick. That guy. He's had a manager gimmick in NXT at different points.
Yeah, because he definitely wasn't Tony Khan in NXT.
Yeah. So that's your announce team. As I mentioned last week, it's definitely like in a small corner of the Performance Center. It looks totally different. It's kind of like, it almost has like a studio show vibe where it's definitely small and intimate. The crowd there, I don't even know if there's 100 people there. It's a very small crowd that they have in that building. But from what I've heard, it's like it's a friends and family thing where they're letting select people in there for when they're taping, so that word doesn't leak out about what they're doing. And the crowd was into it. That all was good. The commentary could use some work, but the pluses for me were they're making a big point of like during the matches, they were putting up like little pop-up like facts about like the wrestlers, telling you like, oh, this is Danny Palmer. She has a background in gymnastics or something. And the other girl, Callie Armstrong, I think she had a gymnastics or an acrobatic background. Like they're putting up little facts, leaning heavily on people's like, athletic achievements and legit backgrounds coming into this. So you can tell they have in their head, no one knows who these people are. So we need to tell them. So that part, I think they got very right. Have you seen any of this yet?
So I haven't seen any of it. And largely because, I just don't interact with Tubi at all.
Yeah.
And let's just set the table. If you don't know what Tubi is, it is a free over-the-top streaming service, similar to Pluto, similar to the Roku suite of free channels.
Yeah.
It's just owned by Fox, and CBS owns Pluto, and that's really the big difference. So they do have some original content, and they do obviously Evolve is going to be a part of that. But there is no charge. There is nothing. It's it's called FAST, free advertised supported television.
Yes, and you do get ads during it. There are ads.
So it's a FAST service, FAST being that acronym, and you will just another suite of channels that you can add to your smart TV, along with your Samsung channels or your LG channels or Vizio, whatever brand you have, Google TV type of a deal. Now, I didn't see the show, and this actually makes me want to go watch it because A, it's under an hour, and B, just looking at the matches, a couple of 12-minute matches and a squash, I don't mind that, and also they're getting a lot of people out there too. You had a 6-man tag, you had a regular tag, a women's tag, and then you had the single squash. So that's a lot of people on the show for only 3 matches.
Yes.
Considering that, both matches are about 12 minutes and then you have 1 2-minute squash, then you have 25 minutes-ish of wrestling in a 47-minute long show. That was it 47 minutes with or without commercials?
I think it was 47 minutes without the commercials. The commercials added some time to it, but I think the actual show is 47 minutes long.
Oh, so that's 47 minutes with commercials then. So if I started it now, it would end 47 minutes later, which means that the show is pretty much the show. Like you have a lot of wrestling.
It moved really well.
Right.
Definitely
so it
moved.
Seems that you have a lot of 25 minutes of wrestling in a 47-minute show with commercials. Means that there's probably only 10 minutes of downtime, whether it's promos or...
Yeah, they had some short little promos, you know. Because I said, they're very much introducing who these folks are. It's like, that main event was all, it was WWE ID Showcase, 6-man main event with Michael Cena. Who all did we cover? Cappuccino Jones, I remember we covered. The Swipe Right guys, I remember we covered on.
Yeah, Ricky Smokes, definitely one of them. Jack Hartwheel.
Right, Jack Hartwheel. I think, was Sean Legacy one that we covered in the ID Spotlight?
No. I know he is, and he would have been one that I got to later, but no.
Yeah, but it definitely came in handy that you picked the right people, because I was like, oh, damn, here is most of these guys in this main event. And they had a nice little 6-man tag to close the show. It was really good, I thought.
So just looking at it objectively with the math, you have 2/3 of the show is actual in-ring action. Then you have the rest of it is promos and commercials. Okay, fine. You have a bunch of different matches because it's a 6-man tag. So everybody's just going to get their spot and keep it moving. No problem with that. And you had a squash match. So they're trying to establish people. They don't really have any storylines or anything like that. They're building all that from the ground up. It really reminds me of Pandemic Dark, which was my favorite television wrestler in North America during that time.
Right.
And I have no problem with that. It actually really makes me want to go back and watch it because I've been begging for some kind of supplementary service like Dark.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in and watch this thing as a show where I have an idea of what's going to happen. I want to watch this as probably in its purest form of, I don't know who these people are. Let's see where they go from here. They have the floor. It's their opportunity from whatever their coaching and training is to go and command the ring. We know what the wrestling is. We know what that looks like. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe not, but go out there and get after it. That's where I am with it. So, I'm actually going to go back and watch this. Is it only on Tubi in America, or can you watch it on YouTube after the fact?
It's Tubi in America, but I said it's up there on demand. So they're not airing it live on a stream. I just went in there and searched Evolve, and it came right up. So I think they're just putting the file up on Wednesdays at 8:00.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be that I like that part too. Because I'm like, okay, so now I don't have to watch it Wednesday at 8. That's just when the new one's dropping, but it's on there. It's just gonna be on there and available. So, and as we've talked about plenty of times with some of these other shows, how long have we talked about, the Ring of Honor situation where it's like, well, shoot, I'd like to check it out, but you got it behind a paywall. This is like the perfect scenario of it's a true developmental show, and there's no barrier of entry now. It's on a free service. You don't even have to watch it at the time it comes out.
You don't have to sign up for anything if you don't want to. You don't have to download an app. You can go straight to their website, Tubi.com, and just do that. Yeah,
I'm seeing how this rolled out now. I was very interested to check out the first one. Now I'm a lot more into the concept. It's like, okay, at some point during the week, I just got to make sure I pull up the episode, boom, there it is. And there'll be a new 45, 47-minute episode ready to go of Evolve. And we're going to get to see this thing, take off like from the starting point. So I'm really curious how I thought the first episode, the only real drawbacks I had to the first episode is I wasn't crazy about the announce team. But otherwise, I was like, I like the little room they're using to film it in. It does feel kind of like an old studio wrestling show where it's like this intimate feel. And they had one little angle at the end where the girl that was in the opening tag match with Danny Palmer, Callie Armstrong, came out, was upset that, how her first match went. And she got into it with the announcers and grabbed the mic. And, the guy started to angle with her. So I was like, okay, they're doing stuff. They had like, the first I was wondering if like the announce team wasn't even there. But no, they were there off in the corner. They had a little table. So I was like, okay, this is very much like an old school studio setup. Maybe not quite as like old school retro looking as how NWA Power was at first. But for a modern day wrestling show, it was definitely like, okay. And especially for WWE, it's just a different presentation entirely. So it feels different. It feels fresh. We've been saying forever, NXT is really not, the NXT TV show is not a developmental show.
Not anymore, no.
It is like, if any, at the most, it's a finishing school for people that are in the final step of getting TV ready. This show, Evolve, this is developmental. I'm excited to see, like, some rough around the edges stuff that, people try out and it doesn't work. So it's very different for WWE. And I'm excited about it.
I'll say this: if you're watching high school football, and you're expecting NFL level, talent, then you're watching for the wrong reason. So I think that's what Evolve is kind of like. It's kind of like high school football. There's obviously going to be you don't watch it with the same lens as you would the NFL, and of course, NXT would be college football. Big market, big stage. It's not obviously not the NFL, but it is as close as you're going to get to the main roster before getting there. So I'm more intrigued from just a wrestling background standpoint of what's going to happen with these kids. The only storyline that matters is where do these kids go from here?
Right.
How long are they going to be in Evolve? Do they reference that on NXT? Do they kind of build a bridge between Evolve and NXT on television to remind people that, hey, it's Tuesday on the CW, but if you want to see the next people that's going to be in NXT, you got to check out Evolve on Tubi or YouTube.
And they did do that where they had some faces from NXT show up there and kind of like, have a presence. They had Shawn Michaels at the end of the show. He handed the show off to Ava. So as far as like, okay, you're already in charge of NXT. We'll put you in charge of this too. So she's going to be kind of the GM overseeing things. But other than that, it's like, they established a little bit a clear connection where it was like, okay, you started at Evolve, then maybe you make it onto the CW eventually if you're lucky. Go ahead.
No, so as far as the show, pretty bare bones as it should be. Commentary team, meh, fine. How were the matches though?
The six man was really solid. Okay. The girls tag was rough in spots, But I like that they got time. They weren't trying to rush them through stuff out there. And then, like you said, the other match was just a straight up squash, which was good. I think they need to have that variety. I'll be curious to see if they stick to like this 3 matches. I think 3 matches was a good number for this, where they said they still had time for some promos and vignettes in there. Because that's the other thing. I had a couple people online tell me, they're like, they should be starting with a tournament to crown their first champion. And I disagree. I don't think they should be doing any of that yet, because job 1 right now needs to only be, who are these people? For the next month, I just want them to establish who the people are, who the wrestlers are, establish some names. Then you can get to a tournament, and then people can be invested, like, oh, I like this guy, I don't like this guy, or I don't like, this person, I'm into this person. Then there'll be some stakes to it. But right now, all this show needs to be is just introducing people. That's all it should be for a while, for the next few weeks.
Yeah, 100%. But I know that they're coming out with Evolve Championship titles. I actually don't think that Evolve should have a championship belt, because the whole point of being in Evolve is leaving it. So,
true.
Maybe there should be a graduation class, or maybe there should be a specific day that you look forward to where, based on, competition, blah, blah, not necessarily, obviously not NXT competition from like 2012, but based on the fact that you are, winning or something like that. Maybe you get some people from NXT to come down to recruit and like, hey, we may not be blood, but I can see you in the Tony D'Angelo family.
Oh, that's a twist. Yeah.
Like, I like what you're doing here. Keep it up. Unfortunately, it wouldn't happen now, but have you thought about enrolling in Chase Ryu?
Right.
Yeah. So these things, because again, Evolve doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out brand with storylines and factions and 16 different belts, and then The Rock comes down to usurp them all. It doesn't have to be that. We're literally here for the wrestling. We need to know A, who these people are, and B, can they transition from their indie persona to the WWE version of that? That's the evolution. It's not the belt. It's not, the Heritage Cup or anything like that. It's not the King of the Ring. It's, can you evolve from your indie self to your WWE self? And when you do, NXT, get out of here.
There you go. You get to the CW. You get off 2B and you get your CW graduation.
Right. And honestly, like realistically, if they had that as a day where, hey, well, once a year we will feature an Evolve match or 2 on NXT. Are you good enough to make it to September, the Labor Day show, or whatever, or the PLE, or the very special episode of NXT? Are you going to make it to Stand to Deliver a year from now as the Evolve champion on NXT? Who knows? But you got to give them obviously something to look forward to. But realistically, it's really all about the wrestling. That actually has me excited. So damn you, WWE, getting your shit together.
I'm sure we'll be talking about it over the next few weeks. This is definitely a show that I think we're very interested in, since it's going to be it's different. And I think we need some different stuff like this out there. Keep things interesting. And it's not the win-win of just, there's no barrier of entry. I love it. It's just going to be there and available. So very cool.
More all right, so if you don't watch it, there's no skin off your back.
Yeah,
they show up at NXT. It is what it is. Okay, cool. But I think that if there's no excuse anymore. There's 4 different levels to the WWE cake. If you want to see what the final boss is going to do, they're literally playing their own sandbox. The rest of the main roster is doing their thing. NXT is doing their thing, and Evolve is doing their thing. And surprisingly, we have more content and less house shows.
Everything's for TV now. It's a TV product. That is what it is. All right, let's switch gears to this weekend. Get off WWE and switch it up to AEW, since this weekend is AEW Revolution on Sunday, March 9th in Los Angeles at Crypto Arena is where this is going to be. So last year, of course, this is the show where Sting retired last year. So
because it was in Greensboro last year.
Yeah, last year it was in Greensboro. So this year they're going out west. And let's take a look at this card. I'll run the card down and then we can like see what jumps out at us here. But we got our pre-show match. We're gonna have the return of Big Boom AJ.
Pre-show Kings.
So there
Doing
you
it
go.
again.
There you go. We know how that worked out last time with him and QT. So
Yeah.
Big Boom AJ is going to be back along with the conglomeration, Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe, to take on Johnny TV and the MXM collection. So it's trios match on the pre-show.
Don't mind
Then the main card as of now, we have 9 matches on the main card. So we have Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher in a steel cage in the grudge match they've been doing. Kazuchika Okada versus Brody King for the Continental Championship. MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. That's another grudge match, though. So we have 2 grudge matches right on there off the bat. Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, AEW tag titles against the Outrunners.
Love the Outrunners.
Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe. We had that set up at the last show when we were talking about the Australia card with her and Harley Cameron. Momo was in the crowd on that. So we're getting that match for the TBS Championship. Swerve Strickland and Ricochet,
Sure.
which is number 1 contenders for the AEW World title. That's another feud that's been going on there. So a lot of personal stakes in this one. Tony Storm and Mariah May, Falls Count Anywhere for the AEW Women's title.
Should be Harley Cameron, but okay.
But here we are. Konosuke Takeshita versus Kenny Omega for the AEW International Championship. And John Moxley and Cope for the AEW World title.
Jeez.
I tell you, the rest of that card has my attention. There's a lot of stuff they've built up pretty darn good and a lot of like feuds in there. And then you get to that damn main event. And it's just like, no, I could not care less about that main event. But the rest of that card,
Honestly,
there's some stuff in there.
Like realistically, Khan won't do it. I know that he won't do it. Tony Storm versus Mariah May is the main event. Like,
you're not the first person I've heard say that.
Like, just stop. Just cut the bullshit.
Yeah.
Falls Count Anywhere match for the Women's World Championship. It's their what's it? The Hollywood ending is what they're calling it.
They're in California. They're in LA.
They're in Los Angeles. It's in Inglewood. Down the street from Hollywood. What? It's arguably the biggest blow off on the card. Now, full disclosure, haven't really peaked at AEW too much in a while. For a number of different reasons. But looking at the card that you just ran down, that's the match. That's the ticket. That's the big ticket match. That's the match that's on the poster. That's the match that sells the show. Because and again, yes, I know that I said I would rather have seen Harley Cameron win. I still would rather have seen Harley Cameron win. But since we're here, that's the biggest match on the card. Like, I don't see how it's not. But one thing I will give AEW credit for, they are starting to streamline their shows a little bit more. Yes, there's only one pre-show match so far, but it is Thursday, and I think Collision is Saturday.
It is Saturday. The pay-per-view is Sunday. There is a Collision on Saturday. It's already been taped. I don't know if they added any matches on Collision, but Collision is in the can.
Okay,
I know that much. So there will be a Collision Saturday.
I wasn't sure if the pay-per-view was like they were doing a Sunday Night Heat thing or if the pay-per-view was on a Sunday. But yeah, so Collision's on Saturday, so obviously there's implications there. But for what it is, I mean, it's probably the most interesting show pay-per-view they put on in a while. I'm not entirely sure about John Moxley versus Cope, but I think it's their first time ever, something. And that is a big blow off to their feud that they've been having between whatever Moxley's group is called and
Death Riders.
Oh, sure.
The darn Death Riders in their white t-shirts.
Yeah, those damn Death Riders. They're so bad. So yeah, that biker gang versus Copeland's biker gang. Sure, that's been a thing. Realistically, though, if it ain't Tony Storm versus Mariah May closing the show, I don't know what we're talking about here. But yeah, sure, I don't mind it. It sounds like a good show. QT isn't on the card, so it's kind of like sure, but yeah, it looks solid.
Yeah, I would say I think about half of that show I'm interested in seeing. There's definitely matches on there that I'm like, okay, I'll check that one out. I'll check that one out. So like, there's definitely been some AEW cards recently where there's been like 1 or 2 matches
Yeah,
I've
I
had
know.
interest in. And this time it's more like, oh, there's more like 4 or 5 on this one. So this is for an AEW show. There's more that has my attention here, but I'm in complete agreement. Put Tony and Mariah on last, please. I doubt it will happen, just like the Harley Cameron title change didn't happen. But as far as like time and place, the show being in LA, this is the time to blow that feud off. This is the time to do it. Let the main event the show. Lord knows Mox and Cope can go on right before it, and it'll be fine. You know, that can be your semi-main, or hell, if you want to suddenly switch it up and call it a double main event, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me. But the ladies should close the show.
They really should.
Now,
I think Dynasty is after that, and then it's Double or Nothing in May. If I got my
that sounds right. Right.
So, you know, obviously the implications lead on to those 2 shows, but other than Toni Storm versus Mariah May, for the obvious reasons, is there anything else that kind of stands out? You know, because I think the Hurt Syndicate versus the Outrunners really stand out to me, because I think
that could be fun.
They could. Number one, it's going to be fun. It's a total different clash of styles. Yeah. I love the work that the Outrunners have been doing, you know, as of late, over the past like maybe 6 to 8 months or so. But you know, it's one of those things where you go, well, if not now, then when? You know, I like the idea of the Hurt Syndicate coming through and running amok, but realistically, Outrunners have been pretty hot. You know, they've been a hot tag team.
Before they went with the Hurt Syndicate, they should have went with them.
Yeah.
So, if anything, it feels like the peak's already passed, but that's kind of an ongoing theme with AEW a lot, is the peak passing and then Tony makes his move. And not striking at the optimum moment for whatever reasons at the given time.
Right.
But,
so then also you have Swerve versus Ricochet, which should be fun. I mean, they're both good. They're both.
It'll be a solid match. Absolutely.
It'll be a great match. There isn't like a bad match on the card, even if I don't like the people.
Right.
Ospreay versus Fletcher is a match that you couldn't pay me to watch, but it's in a steel cage, so that makes it interesting. And they like to jump off of tall things.
For people that are into those guys, it'll be exactly what they want. I just happen to be one of those guys. But for the people that are into them, they will get what they want from that match, I am sure.
I feel the same way about Max Friedman versus Adam Page. Not a match that that you could have paid me to watch, but you know, it's a big blow off match. You know, could be interested. They're not short of talent. It's just, you've seen this before. Do I need to see it again and again and again? And no, I don't. So hopefully, it probably won't happen because Tony just sticks with his guns. But I really hope that it's a good reset. There seems to be a lot of hard, blow-offs for these feuds. Swerve versus Ricochet, that could be done. Toni Storm versus Mariah May, that can be done. Callis versus Kitty, that can be done. Moxley versus Cope, please let that be done. Ospreay versus Fletcher, again, that can be done. So we got a lot of blow-offs to a lot of the feuds. And hopefully come Dynasty and definitely Double or Nothing, I'm okay with a nice good reset, for AEW going into the spring. So whatever it is, just go with it and let's get some new faces in there.
There you go. Let's switch it up after Revolution this weekend.
Please.
All right, we had a quick little comment come in here. I definitely want to bring this one up because I did not get to mention them specifically when we were talking Evolve. Mad Chocolate Gaming on Twitch thrown in here. Just got home and tuning in, not to derail, but with Swipe Right already discussed and why they're the future of the tag division in WWE. I was very pleased with Swipe Right on the WWE Evolve show in the 6-man main event and the little promo they got. I was saying last night that of everyone that was on that show, I thought they had the most ready-made gimmick that was ready to go with just the whole Swipe Right thing, them just being douchey and stuff. I like it as a tag team act. As far as anything that was on that Evolve show last night, as far as characters went, they probably had the best character thing going in the Evolve premiere. So definitely into Swipe Right. And that was definitely that was people we featured in the ID spotlight. I remember you bringing them
absolutely
up.
Brought up Ricky Spokes. And Taylor, and not as Swipe Right specifically because we were only doing singles, but the big thing about the Evolve show isn't this show. It's going to be watching this show in 6 months. You know, what's the maturation over the summer from everyone involved, and of course, then we get to see who they lean on, who they think there's ready. So if we don't see some face names and faces, we know why. Because people aren't evolving. One thing I will add is that I found a link to their YouTube, and even though it doesn't work because in America, 235,000 views since it's live streamed. That's pretty good. So for the rest of the world chiming in, so hopefully that number was bigger on Tubi, but some people are taking notice and watching it, and of course it's the first. It's a debut. It's a brand new concept, and well, not a brand new concept. It's arguably NXT 3.0, but it's a new look for WWE. Don't mind it. Keep it going. And I will be checking it out before next Wednesday, and I'll probably watch that one as it airs.
There we go. We can talk more about it next week, see where it's going with Evolve and all that. So, folks, thanks for tuning in this week for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. is when we stream live here on YouTube, Twitch, X, our streaming live platforms. The feed then lives on YouTube. So if you tuned in late tonight, like Mad Chocolate Gaming, it is on our YouTube channel. If you're looking for the video version, it is there living on throughout the week. Audio version drops on all your favorite podcast platforms. So if you're just looking for audio, we have you covered there too. Let's see. Let me go down through all the stuff here. On social media, at Big Gold Belt across the board is where you can find us, whether it's X, Instagram, Blue Sky, all that good stuff. At Big Gold Belt is where we are on all the different platforms. Of course, the website is biggoldbelt.com, your home of Big Gold Belt Media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more, as we like to do every week. What else is going on out there in the world of entertainment, Crab? Since you're the only one here tonight, we've heard a lot about that Chinese movie you keep bringing up over the last few weeks.
$1.9 billion and growing.
My God, it's raking it in.
The Oscars, of course, were last weekend. So a lot of, and of course, the big thing about the Oscars is I've never seen any of these movies. A lot of them are reappearing in theaters. Some of them are on streaming platforms. So if you saw something that you thought was interesting, it's probably worth you giving a look to see why it won an award. New in theaters this week, Mickey 17 in all the premium large formats. I have not seen it yet. I plan on seeing it in IMAX. The director, Bong Joon-ho, is the dude that did Parasite. He did The Host, a bunch of other stuff. Really great Korean director. So I'm very excited about that. That's the big one this weekend. I definitely look out for My Dead Friend Zoe. As she's a war veteran dealing with PTSD, and her friend and teammate who she served with appears as like her conscience, and she has to deal with that. I believe Morgan Freeman's in it also. Looks pretty interesting, so I'll be seeing that this weekend as well. So yeah, we got some things. It's always fun to go to.
There you go. It's not always just wrestling here at Big Gold Belt Media. So there you go, folks. Like I said, biggoldbelt.com for all your entertainment needs, wrestling, movies, comics, and more right here at Big Gold Belt Media, your one-stop shop. So until next week's, folks, we'll be back 8 p.m. next Thursday talking what's going on in wrestling. We'll have Revolution to talk about. We'll have more Evolve to talk about. Who knows what else. We'll see if John Cena does anything heelish over the week, and we'll get into it then. So in the meantime, like, favorite, and share, subscribe, hit that bell to be notified on the YouTube and all that. And we'll see you next week. So until then, stay safe, and we will talk to you later.